Hello everyone, this hour on Verbling, the next in my Hot Topic series. Today we are in the second hour of our discussion of the hot topic, backing up your brain. This is part 2 of our class on digital immortality. In this week's class, we talked about the hot topic of immortality. How do you want to be remembered? We looked at how one journalist discovered that there are ways being experimented with right now to create a virtual you. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, the ethics of it, and we're going to go right to our discussion questions in the second hour to talk about the issue. And then I have a case study, something that happened in the past, which will help us talk about the ethics maybe a little bit better. Okay, that's a bit about the class. Here's a bit about me. I'm John Eric, your Verbling teacher for this hour. I'm an American teacher from New York, hanging out in Lisbon, Portugal to bring you this class. By the way, here are 3 quick rules to help you participate. Don't forget to turn off, tune in, and open up. That means turn off your microphone when you're not speaking so we can keep the classroom nice and quiet. Tune in to the new words you're learning when you are speaking so I can correct you and give you feedback. So use the language we're learning actively. Finally, open up to your classmates. It's relaxing and fun. We're all here to learn, and this is a safe and respectful place to practice your English. And here is our discussion questions. These are questions that I thought of as we were talking last week, and specifically from some excerpts of the article. But even if you didn't read the article, I think we can still talk about these questions. So the first question is, are the ephemerals, it's the ephemerals, sorry. We've got 2 words here. Ephemeral. Let's get a definition. Ephemeral means what? Whoops. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for site. Vocabulary.
Be careful.
.com. What am I doing wrong here? Oh, I think it's a spelling problem. There we go. That's what I want. Not the other thing. There we go. Ephemeral. Something that is fleeting or short-lived is ephemeral. A fly that lives for 1 day, or a text message flitting from cell phone to cell phone. So, I meant to say ephemeral versus eternal. That's what I meant to say. If we are the ephemerals, then are the eternals the virtual yous really alive? Are they people? Do they have rights? Let's imagine a minute that you've gone to eternity.me and you've created your virtual you. You've uploaded your Facebook, your Twitter, all of your social media, and you've created a virtual avatar, and you've interacted with the avatar for years, and it's able to respond. We'll call that an eternal, or a virtual you. So, are these things really alive? Are they people? What do you think? Let's start there. Is Watson, or a more advanced version of Watson, alive in some sense?
There's some controversial in the question.
What is it?
The move from ephemerals to eternals. The ephemerals then are eternals. So in this case, there is an inequality from ephemeral and eternal. In the first case, you define ephemeral as some phenomenon,
Mhm.
and afterward you define eternal, the same phenomenon. There is a contradiction.
Well, what's the contradiction? Maybe you're right.
Because
If
if something is ephemeral,
Mhm.
can be eternal.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. If we, you and I,
Yeah,
we are ephemeral. You and me, Vincenzo,
yeah,
because we
yeah.
have
We
a
are ephemeral,
right.
Because I'm eternal.
but you can think of eternity. You can live in another life,
That's true.
spiritually. Just this is another kind of thing. But if
That's
we
true.
remain in this life, ephemeral is ephemeral, and
That's
virtual is virtual.
that's right.
Eternal. Yes,
So we don't have to use the word eternal.
yes. We don't
Okay?
have to use the eternal.
No. We don't have to use it. It's fine. I just was trying to make a distinction between finite and non-finite, but you're absolutely right. Maybe we have to make a distinction between non-finite and virtual. Yes, you might be right about that. So let's change the question in this case.
Yes.
Maybe it's confusing. But you see, there's a bias in the
We
question.
can make the question more direct in some
Sure.
way.
Okay, help me. Make it direct, Vincenzo. Help me
It's
out.
very difficult. Yes, perhaps you want. I think you want to say if the ephemeral can be considered can be considered eternal, no, eternal in this sense. But you
Uh-huh.
see, the ephemeral, so this fact of the virtual life
Right.
can be considered eternal. Do you have the right? There is another question. Do they have the right? This is another problem.
Yes.
There are two questions here.
Yes, I agree. You're right.
Yeah.
So let's go with the easier question. Let's go with the easier question first.
Mm.
Are we now? I'm not saying these exist yet, but let's imagine they exist. So are our avatars? That's what
Yes,
we're trying to create.
yes, that's right. Our real life.
Yeah, really alive.
Yes, that is it.
So that's the question. If they are able to create the avatar like they say, like that they want to do in Eternity by Me, are they alive?
Yes.
Are they full people?
Yeah. No, people.
If
Yeah. Just
if
it's a
so,
contradiction. It's an avatar.
so should they have rights? So that's the question. Maybe that's an easier question.
Right. You refer to avatar. That the avatar could have rights.
Yes.
The avatar.
Remember the example that we read a moment ago?
Yeah.
If your memories are uploaded into an avatar, that means that other people, maybe everyone, has access to them.
Yes.
So who has the rights? So that's just an example. We can put that here. So for instance, who should have the right to access your memories?
That's the point.
These are the questions that are raised. Daniel, you said your memories are very, very special, and of course they are. So why don't you start with the second question? Who should have the right to access your memories? You've created your avatar, Virtual Daniel. Do I have the right to scan your database and see what you remember? What do you think, Daniel?
It's too deep at this time for me.
Earlier, last week, you said you liked the idea of creating an avatar. You were for it.
Yeah, but
Okay. So,
something not biological to be right. It's really Controversial.
It is. It is. So what's your take on it? You have to stand and deliver. What's your opinion? I'm gonna say, you saw the movie Her, right? In the movie, was the operating system a person?
No, it's a system, no?
Say again. It's
Her.
in Her with Joaquin Phoenix and Scarlett Johansson.
It's a operating system, no?
It was an operating
Windows XP or Windows 8.
Maybe it was Windows 20. It was more advanced.
Yeah.
So, was the operating system? I forgot the name. What was the name? I don't remember.
As a woman, but
Okay, so was she a person in the movie?
no,
She wasn't.
it's a software.
But she was. But in the movie, the character played by Joaquin Phoenix is dating. It's his girlfriend.
Yeah.
So he wouldn't date an operating system. He'd only date a person, right? So wasn't it a person?
I think it should exist some limits because it's crazy to think
Instead
you
of it
can
should exist. Instead of it should exist. Let's say there should be, not it exists or should exist. There should be.
there should
Say that
be
again.
some limits
There should be some limits. Okay.
because it's crazy to think you can date with a machine or software.
Okay. So what are the limits?
I think it's like to have a pet. You can love your pet, you can take care of your pet, you can talk to your pet, but some things you shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Marry, having children, I don't know.
You can't.
The limit is in our being human.
You can't marry your dog, right?
Yeah.
There was a play in the smartphone when you have to feed the baby, no?
Yeah. There was the Tamagotchi.
Tamagotchi, yes, something like
Yes.
this.
You had to feed it, and it could die if you didn't feed it.
Yes.
Exactly. And little girls would jump off of buildings because they had killed their Yamaguchi, and they were very upset. Very controversial. So there should be limits. For example, you can't marry your dog. Okay, but in California, when I was a kid, there was a fashion for rich people, kind of Hollywood type rich people and celebrities, to preserve their dog. So there was, of course, the pet cemetery where you could visit your dog, but there was also people who would preserve their dogs, forever. Fluffy is there, stuffed and sitting on the mantle. So
there is also something cryogenics, I think.
Right. You can freeze your dog and yourself and be revived when they have the technology to fix you, to unkill you. So there's cryogenics. But here we're talking not about living things, we're talking about avatars. So what should be the limits? Or are they alive? So I guess what you're saying is people should not be allowed to marry their avatar.
Mental limits. When someone start to believe that the software is almost a human being, it should be a problem.
there should be maybe intervention. Okay. So if someone believes the avatar is real, then we have to intervene and do something about it. Okay? But if the avatar has access to your memories, can respond to questions, and carry on a conversation as you, can the avatar... Let's imagine for a second that the avatar was right now. Let's imagine that you're not dead, you're alive. Let's imagine that you want to stay home and watch... what was the name of the movie? I forgot. Imitation Game. You want to stay home and download Imitation Game and watch it. You don't want to go to work. But your avatar can respond the way you do. So, couldn't you send your avatar to work? Where the avatar is on the cloud. Couldn't the avatar answer simple emails because you don't need to be there to do that? What do you think, Daniel? Could you have your avatar answer emails for you? Not personal emails, but simple informational emails. And that way you could stay at home. You could watch Cumberbatch, and
I would have to get used to it.
You'd have to get used to it. The reason I mention this is because guess what Apple Computers is doing right now? Take a wild guess. I think it's Apple. I'd have to look it up.
Mm-hmm.
Apple Computers, if I'm not mistaken, you can look it up, is no longer letting people... Look it up. I'm pretty sure it's Apple, but it might be IBM. I don't remember now who. As of this year, they're no longer writing their annual reports. Instead of writing the annual reports, it is something like a virtual avatar. So if it's something that is informational, they're basically having an advanced software write the report in a way that we can read it and understand it. As long as it's not something that involves heavy concepts. If it's just reporting information, they've switched to automated reporting, and people will no longer write the reports. People will read them, but they won't write them.
My question
is,
when you have a problem or an issue with your telecom company, do you like to talk to a machine?
Yes. I love talking machines.
Yes, but I think that there are dangers in making public some personal information. Imagine that it was possible for the avatar to communicate the account and the key of the bank account.
Exactly.
Yeah. What
your
happened?
Password
Would happen.
Exactly.
And other people, yes, that is not authorized.
Maybe your avatar like to play games in Las Vegas.
Your avatar is very good at blackjack and likes to go to Reno. Exactly. So what you're saying is the avatar should not have access to your bank account. Is that it?
Yes, but it would be a very prudent avatar. It should be a very prudent avatar. Yeah, we must. I'm going to say we trust. I think in the America, we trust in God, but we have to trust in a good avatar.
Well, let's imagine for a moment that our avatar can represent us. Let's imagine, because one company that I mentioned is actually doing that. There is a computer program that will write the report. I imagine a human being will proofread it. I imagine so. But the point is, it was completely computer generated and it's readable. It seems like something that a person wrote. So something like that is being done already. Now there's another question. That means that someone who used to write reports lost his or her job. That's another issue, of course. Okay, but let's imagine for a second that the avatar can represent you. let's imagine that we all create avatars, and that's a legacy for our grandchildren. Here's my second question. Take a look. Can you read this question for us, Daniel?
Yes. What if the company one day goes under?
Right.
As the servers are switched off, the people at homes could die a second death.
You know what it means to go under?
Go under when the when the company is taken over or disappear.
Yeah, basically goes under. Hold on a second here. Basically, that's it. Where the company is bankrupt or has to close. Yeah. Okay.
And the software is already erased. No, the avatars are erased.
Say again?
The avatars are erased in this case.
Erased, exactly. So that's the question.
Yes.
That's the question. It's like the people there will die a second death.
Yes.
So, what do you think about that? Do we have the obligation to preserve them? And if so, to preserve, oh, I can't write, preserve them.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then that means that the company owns them. Does the storage,
Yes, good servers. Mm-hmm.
yeah, in some way, does the storage own people? Own because these are virtual people, of course. But does the storage system own the people? In other words, is there a difference between data and hardware? So let's imagine these avatars are real. The avatars are software. They're zeros and ones.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
so if the server goes under, we lose the people. Does that mean
Yes,
that the people are the data, or are the people the data and the hardware?
understand. But there could be a good software in order to restore them. I don't think that is yes. It is very important to maintain this data. Huh? No? So there is a restore, I think.
But the question still remains, Vincenzo. We still have the question.
Yes, we have lost the restore.
Where is the person? Is the person the data, or is the person the data and the hardware? If the person is just the data, does the company own the data? See what I'm saying?
Yeah. This is data, very important data.
If your data is stored on Google, let's imagine your avatar is on Google. What's it called? Google Drive or Microsoft SkyDrive. Let's imagine your data is there.
Same with our data in our computer. If a society says that can store our data, if they lost our data, they are we have to find a way in order to restore this data. Otherwise, we have to cheat. No, cheat to can say denounce, not to.
You mean something legal?
Yes, that's illegal.
To sue the company.
Yes. This way.
Sue the
same thing of some important data that we have stored, and the society said that we never lost our data. So
But
we trust in this society, in this company.
right. Okay.
It is the same for everything that you have your provider, telephonic provider. That if you don't have the connection for 1 year, you have to yes to, to
So the
reclaim.
company, so you're saying the company doesn't own the data. No company owns the data, but the company owns the service of preserving the data, right? Is
Yes,
that right?
yes.
Okay. So if that's true, let me ask you another question about today. Why do we care about piracy today? The legal argument is that piracy online, for anything, for movies, for music, it doesn't matter. Or something controversial like WikiLeaks. WikiLeaks is just transferring data to people. It didn't WikiLeaks didn't go to the CIA and the FBI and take their data. Someone else did that.
But it's cancelled. Do we have a contract?
No, sorry? Oh,
Do
contract?
yes? Do we have a contract with this society or not?
What do you mean contract? Sorry, I don't understand.
Contract
What do you mean by contract?
is something that is stated in order the duty of the society, our duty.
Duty, I understand.
That yes, between the relationship between uh, us and the society, between relationship between the society, no?
Mhm.
Uh,
But duty for what? I just want to be clear what you mean.
yes, for me and my avatar, in
Huh?
the manage of my avatar with the society.
Do we have a duty to
A
do what?
contract. So
To do what?
like
To,
you have, as you have a contract with your telephonic company or something with a service,
you mean to store the data?
not to store the data,
Oh, I
but
don't understand.
something written that
No,
uh,
Vincenzo, I know what a contract is. I don't mean that. But a contract for what purpose? That's what I'm confused about.
in order to manage the relationship between you and the society that manage your avatar.
Oh,
The way,
oh,
like they,
to oversee the relationship, maybe.
yes.
Oh, I now understand. To oversee the relationship. Got it.
Yeah, you have signed something about, no, or not?
Between. Okay, that's a question. Yes. Do we have?
Or you have lived all in the hand of the society, not that they can do everything
That's a good point.
about your avatar.
That's a good question. I don't know if they have if they've thought about that. I'm sure they have. I don't know actually if that was in the article at all. I think that was a question.
That's very important. I think that it's necessary to state this relationship, no? To
Absolutely. So maybe the question is, who will be responsible?
yeah,
Maybe something like that. Who'll be responsible to? I'm going to say oversee, meaning to be in charge of, to look at. Who'll be responsible to oversee your avatar's relationship with, I'm going to just say others, with society.
society, company, and so.
Okay. Okay, now I understand what you mean. That's the contract. Ah, okay.
Don't you have a word in this way, contract, or not?
Contract? Sure, yeah, you can say contract.
It's,
It's fine.
yeah.
I didn't understand what you meant. Now I understand. So yeah.
It's very clear. When I say contract, I think relationship between two people. Let me say, could
Between
be
two parties.
two
Between two
parties. Two
parties.
parties is the exact word. Yes.
That's right. Well, Daniel, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? So, who will the contract be with? Especially because the avatar is there as a legacy. So you're gone. So who will be responsible? Will you give your rights? Who should be responsible? The company, Eternity.me? I mean, they have a relationship with you now. Or should it be your family? Your great-grandchildren don't know you.
Maybe the family, no?
So you think the contract should be with the family?
Yeah.
Okay. Not with the company that you originally set up.
No, I think the family.
So contract stays with the family.
Because I think everything we are talking about it's in the way to your future family, your grandchildren,
Your great-grandchildren.
great-grandchildren
Right.
will know about you, no?
Okay.
And maybe they should belong to.
Maybe they should.
They should
I didn't hear the word. They should do what?
belong to.
Belong. Oh, okay.
Belong to.
Maybe okay. So
Yes, you can't claim because you are dead, no?
you're gone.
So all remain the family that it's interested in this avatar.
Okay.
Yes.
So Vincenzo, Daniel says the contract should be with the family, and your avatar should belong to the family. Okay.
Yes.
Vincenzo, let's imagine your avatar wants to get a job. Your family does not want the avatar to work. But the family has the contract. So you, Vincenzo, you're the avatar, and the family, that's Daniel, doesn't want you to work. But you're like, hey, I'm a real person too.
So what do we? It's controversial between me, avatar, and the family.
That's right. So don't you have the right to work, Vincenzo? You understand concepts and words.
Yes, it depends. It depends how it is structured. My avatar. If you have it structured in a certain way that I have right. But if you are, it's not structured in this way, I don't have right. It's like a machine. Yes.
Well,
you can think like a person, as a person. Yes, because something that is like a computer or a smartphone, something like this. So if you have structured in this way and the law accept this, the avatar has the right. Otherwise, it hasn't.
Okay, so it really has to do with a contract. And Daniel, what do you think? Imagine that, your avatar wants to do something that you would have wanted. Daniel, what do you want to do? I don't know. You want to continue being a surveyor. Your avatar is able to do it, but you signed a contract that gave the rights to the family. So who's right in this case? The avatar or the family? Daniel. Who's right? Who should have the right? Your virtual you wants to.
The first is my family.
Your virtual you wants to go on Facebook and wants to chat with people. He's lonely, Daniel. He's lonely. Your family says no. This is not really Daniel.
I agree with my family.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I can't believe that my avatar.
You don't trust in your avatar.
Will be able to
socialize.
Be me.
But your avatar.
I narrow in my mind.
Right. But your avatar has no one to interact with, because your avatar is in the cloud, and he does not have access to social media, unless you're dead. So it's your family has to give you the permission.
But the avatar could think that he has the right, and has the right really, no, in this case. So
Exactly.
the family is wrong,
Exactly.
and that's the problem. So who has the right?
Exactly. Well, here's an idea for you both. I have a little case study here, which is strangely similar. Although it's about something very different, it's kind of similar here. So it's not about memories and virtual us's, but it's about a case which I think can help us think about the morality of this. So we're going to take a quick look here. Look on page 13, Henrietta Lacks Immortal Cells. So this is a case study about someone who, in a way, had to do something very similar, had to use her personal information, in this case it's biological information, in a way that was useful for the rest of humanity. In kind of the way your information, your memories, your thoughts, your concepts, your personality, and your experiences, the question is whether that should be public or not. You both agree that that doesn't sound like it should be public, it's personal. Well, that's the question.
It's
I think
the problem for social media also. Huh?
Exactly.
Okay.
So,
continue.
well, so that's the question that I think this little case study raises. So we're going to explore the issue of ethics. In this case, it's medical research, and in particular, the issue of informed consent in the context of Henrietta Lacks and the so-called Hela cells. So we got a little kind of a summary of the case. So the first thing is we have to just read about the situation here. So we have an interview. Let me just see if I have this for you. 1 second. An interview. Fine. Where's the interview? Give me a second. I think the interview is there, isn't it? I'm just seeing how I said that. Oh yeah, it's there. It's there below. Okay. So the first thing is we're going to take a look at the interview, and that should give us a quick overview of the situation, and then we'll see what happened with the information that she gave. 1 second here. So, no, that's not the interview. That's just the information. Okay, let's start down there. Let's start with the questions so we get some background. So let's take a look at. Let me go back here. Give me a second here because the interview is not where it's supposed to be, so I'm going to open it up in the background. Okay, while that's opening, let's go and just read this background information first so you can get a little bit of information about her. We're going to start up here. Journalist Rebecca Skloot's new book investigates how a poor black tobacco farmer had a groundbreaking impact on modern medicine. All right, so let's get a little background before we read the interview and find out what happened to her biological information, okay? So, Daniel, you take the first one for us. This is very short, actually.
Medical researchers use laboratory-grown human cells to learn the intricacies of how cells work and test theories about the causes and treatment of disease. The cell lines they need are immortal. They can grow indefinitely, be frozen for decades.
For decades.
Decades.
Good.
Divide into different batches and shared among scientists. In 1951, a scientist at Johns Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore, Maryland, created the first immortal human cell line with a tissue sample taken from a young black woman with cervical cancer. Those cells, called Hela cells, quickly became invaluable to medical research, though their donor remained a mystery for decades.
For decades.
Decades. For
Good.
decades. In her new book, The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lux, journalist Rebecca Scott tracks down the story of the source of the amazing Hela cells, Henrietta Lux, and documents the cell line's impact on both modern medicine and the Lux family.
Okay. So we're just going to go to the basic information here. Can you take the next two parts here, Vincenzo? We'll get a little bit of background on it.
Who was Henrietta Lux? She was a black tobacco farmer from southern Virginia who got cervical cancer when she was 30. His Dr. Johns Hopkins took a piece of her tumor without telling her and sent it down the hall to scientists there who had been trying to grow tissue in culture for decades without success. No one knows why, but her cells never died. Why are her cells so important? Henrietta's cells were the first immortal human cells ever grown in culture. They were essential to developing the polio vaccine. They went up in the first space mission to see what would happen to cells in zero gravity. Many scientists, landmarks,
Many scientific
landmarks since then have used her cells, including cloning, gene mapping, and in vitro fertilization.
So think about that for a minute. All of those leaps in technology and biological technology, like the polio vaccine, might never have happened if it weren't for this one particular person, Henrietta Lux. Think about that. So, what differentiates Hela cells from other human cells? Just so that we're clear. What's the difference between a Hela cell and a regular cell, guys? What's the difference between the Hela cell and a normal human cell? What's the main difference?
I don't understand. But, well, I can tell.
Human cells aren't immortal.
Exactly, human cells are not immortal. So, for some reason, she was different. For some reason.
They say they were essential to developing the polio vaccine.
Yes.
But they don't say how. Why they were essential to develop?
No. We don't know. It's too technical. I don't know either.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be clear that the contribution was that for some reason her cells didn't die naturally. They continued to reproduce and reproduce, and they're still reproducing today. We still have them today. It's a long, long time since she was around. So for some reason her cells don't have the off switch that normal cells do.
Yes, but what was the process? I don't remember. In order to obtain this, what was the process?
Well, let's find out a little bit more. This is quite short, just a few paragraphs. Let me just see. Well, it's not that short. It's a little bit. But let's see if we can go forward. Yes, Avante is go forward.
How did they do that?
Okay. So here's the interview. Let me go back. Why were cells important?
The important is how to.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll read the next part.
Pragmatic.
I'll read the next part. We'll go around the room again.
Okay.
There has been a lot of confusion over the years about the source of the Hela cells. Why? When her cells were taken, they were given a code name, Hela or Hela, for the two letters in Henrietta and Lux. So Hela. Today, anonymizing samples is a very important part of doing research on cells. But that wasn't something doctors worried about in the 1950s. So they weren't terribly careful about her identity. When some members of the press got close to finding Henrietta's family, the researcher who'd grown the cells made up a pseudonym, Helen Lane, to throw the media off the track. Other pseudonyms like Helen Larson eventually showed up too. Her real name didn't really leak out into the world until the 1970s. I don't know if we're going to get to how. This is just an interview about the background. So when did you get into the story? How did you win the trust? When did her family find out about the cells? Let me see. How did they do that?
Yeah.
Let's go down here, Vincenzo. You take this part.
Yes. How did you do that? How did they do that? This was most true for Henrietta's daughter. Deborah never knew her mother. She was an infant when Henrietta died. She had always wanted to know who her mother was, but no one ever talked about Henrietta. So when Deborah found out that this part of her mother was still alive, she became desperate to understand what that meant. Did it
So,
hurt? What that
sorry,
meant?
go ahead. Yes, continue. Sorry.
Did it hurt her mother when scientists inject herself with viruses and toxins? Had scientists cloned her mother? And could those cells help scientists tell her about her mother, like what her favorite color was and if she liked to dance? There is an interrogation. No.
Yeah.
Deborah's brother, though, didn't think much about the cells until they found out there was money involved. Hela cells were the first human biological materials ever bought and sold, which helped launch a multi-billion-dollar industry. When Deborah's brother found out that people were selling vials of their mother, what is vials of their mother?
Vials is like test tubes.
What?
Test tubes.
Ah,
Little glass containers. Vial.
Of their mother's cells, and that the family didn't get any of the health insurance, and then the resulting money, they got very angry. Henrietta's family has lived in poverty most of their
Lives.
and many of them can't afford health insurance. One of her sons was homeless and living on the streets of Baltimore, so the family launched a campaign to get some of what they felt they were owed financially. It
Right.
consumed their lives in that way.
So we don't get to find out the how of how the cells were immortal, and I get the feeling that they don't really understand it yet.
Yes, but this is the doesn't say what they do that. How did they do that? They try.
It doesn't say. But
It's
but
an
that's,
article that's very strange because at the beginning they say I didn't do that, but it doesn't explain the method.
well, they don't know. They didn't alter the cells. The cells were naturally like this.
It's
So
something about the family, the relationship between the family and the society that get a lot of dollar or money, but desperate, yes, even her mother.
right. Well, the reason I bring this up is because this is a real-life example of something very much like our avatars. In other words, who does this information belong to? The cell is a living thing, but the cell is also information. So who does it belong to? Henrietta is no longer with us, but should the family have the right to the cells that belong to the mother? And if so, what does that mean for the polio vaccine? We've taken...
It's not taken in consideration by the law. I think that must be regulated in some way, but we can't answer in this way because we can give an answer, but the most important is that the law can treat this argument and give an answer.
The law cannot or can? I didn't understand.
The law is, yes. What is legal and what is illegal.
So the law, you mean the law must define?
Yes. Define, say, this relationship, and says and to say what is right or was not right.
Okay, but imagine that we had to vote on this. Imagine that we had to vote. You and me and Daniel, we had to vote. Imagine. So we had to vote. Do people own their own tissue? So the question is something like this in the chat window. Do individuals own their own tissue samples? And by that we could mean us, or we could mean the family too. If we die, then maybe it passes on to the family. So that's the question I think that this raises. Who owns the tissue? It's the same question as, I think it's the same question as who owns memories, if in a virtual avatar. But I'm going to change it over here. Henrietta. So for Henrietta, my question is, if we had to vote, who would you vote for? Who owns, or does an individual own their own tissue samples? So who owns Henrietta's cells? Does Henrietta's family own them? Does the company that got them own them? Because probably they were gotten through, I don't remember if it said where they got them, but through the hospital, obviously, through her doctor.
Legally or illegally.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, that's the problem, sempre, always.
So,
yes.
What do you think? Do we own our tissue? Daniel,
sure.
What do you think?
Sure.
So the answer is yes.
Yes, for sure.
Okay. If that's true, does that mean that we own the polio vaccine, Daniel?
No.
No, really. But it was our tissue that helped create the vaccine.
Yeah, but you should pay by your tissue a little amount of money, because the research to find out the vaccine is more than your tissue. Tissue is a help, but it's not all.
Yes, you gave a contribution to the discovery.
It's a contribution, right?
Yeah.
So, does that mean that we should have? Should we have some? If we're the owners and our family are the owners, does Henrietta's family have the right to be paid from the discovery of the vaccine in some part?
In some part, yes.
In some part.
Yeah.
Interesting.
In America, everybody is sure about everything. It's like a sport, national sport.
Right.
No?
Lawyers.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Do we have the right to take a cell of another people, in order to make an experiment or not?
Yeah. And if that's the case, who's
take these cells, they have to ask for permission or not.
Yep.
No.
That's the question. And what about now? What do you think now? The evil, if you want to call it that, has already been done. So, should Henrietta's family be compensated for her contribution now? I mean, it's already been done. So it's already been 50, 60 years later. So do we have an obligation now to compensate the family? What do you think, guys?
I think
This
in
is a
some
great
way,
problem.
yes.
Great problem about the privacy, the ownership of the cells and the right to use these cells in the society from the companies that treat these cells.
It's a problem, but I want to know the solution. Daniel, what's your solution? You started to say something.
The solution
For Henrietta now. Because if you can give a solution, then that will tell us how to solve the ownership problem. So, do we owe compensation to Henrietta's great-grandchildren now?
Yes.
Yes, we do.
Yes. Some percentage.
Some percentage.
Some percentage. Yes.
And Vincenzo, do you agree with Daniel?
Yes, I agree. In a certain sense, I agree. Yes. Perhaps they should have asked about permission.
They should have, but they didn't.
No, they I can say in the exact form of grammar, but avrebbero dovuto, I should have.
Should have is just, completely in the past. Yeah, in the 1950s, they should have asked. Probably.
Should have asked. Yes,
yeah, they should have. But they didn't. And that's the issue.
Yes, they must have a penalty in this case, or they have to compensate.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you think this issue is related to our virtual avatars? I think it is. What do you think?
Yes, I agree. Yes, I agree. Mm.
So, just to finish class, imagine that you're going to create your avatar today. What would you put in the contract? What would you add to your contract?
Yes. We must reflect about this, teacher, because it's a very complicated thing. Because it's morality, it's security, it's money, about money, a lot of things. But it needs a lot of time to establish what.
All right.
Yeah, it's impossible to say in words.
You think about it. And
security.
I'll see if we can touch on this issue in the next hot topics, because we're out of time, I guess, at this point.
Right.
You think about it. You get back to me. Final thoughts, Daniel Vincenzo. Final thoughts before we go. Anything you want to add before we go?
This, I think this software is far, far away.
So it's all science fiction, is that it?
Yes, for me, yes.
But there was a film.
We have other big problems right now to solve and to discuss.
It's
What was
true.
the title of the film, Avatar? No.
Avatar, right.
Yeah.
They're coming out with Avatar 2 very soon. You'll be able to see the sequel very soon, Vincenzo. All right, gentlemen, we've got to stop there.
Yeah.
I hope that this was a little bit interesting. It was a little difficult to talk about because it's a big issue. But what I wanted to do was to try to show you how a real case today has some implications for our virtual case in the future. and maybe it can help us think about it and help us with the language of how to talk about this.
Yes, I agree. It's very
Okay.
interesting. It's
So in
very
terms of
important for robots, very important for robots. This article, in order to create robots.
Well, I'm not teaching robots English, though. I'm teaching you English. So here's what you need to keep in mind. So just before we go, a few things to keep in mind. How to speculate. So keep in mind would, should, could, and might. We're talking about the future, what could, should, and might, what might happen, what could, what should. And earlier we said in English, they should have asked permission. So should have, or any modal verb, would have, should have, could have, is speculating in the past. So as a key idea here, don't forget those two different forms. In the perfect form, should have, you're talking about the past and only the past. Not a real past. You're imagining the past, you're speculating. They should have asked permission.
It's not the past, no? Or not?
Say again?
In this case, it is not said like a past. Should have.
It's the past.
Because it's referred to the past, but is a consideration.
Not a real past. Not a real past.
Not a real past, yes.
And we call that, of course, the third conditional. Third conditional in the conditionals.
Consideration.
Yes, exactly. Right. So speculating about the past, third conditionals. Would have, should have, could have, might have. Speculating about the future in an unreal way, would, could, should, might. So in terms of language, keep those two ideas in mind. And in the next hot topic, we're going to be using them again anyway to speculate about the implications of something new. Remember, if you have a hot topic, send me a message in the Verbling chat window, in the Verbling message window, and I will turn it into a class. Okay? So if you have any ideas, you just let me know. All right, gentlemen, we're going to stop there. Have a great weekend. I'll be back on Monday, 9 a.m. for pronunciation practice, 10 a.m. for getting results in business. Bye for now, everyone.
Enjoy the weather.
Okay.
I will try.
Same to you, teacher. Bye.
Bye-bye.